I still ultimately think we're headed a little bit lower, maybe 12,000-ish on the crypto Bitcoin market, but I do think we're due for a dollar pullback here, and that could be the relief rally that we get a crypto move, maybe in Bitcoin back to 25, maybe 28,000. So I do think inflation will start to come down, but it's only going to come down a certain amount. And the key here is understanding that we know that oil obviously is a big input cost. There's so many things from plastics that are into oil and so forth. So that coming in will help bring it in. But the problem I see is the wage inflation. And by the way, it's great that people are making more money, but it obviously has a repercussion, right?
Right.
And so wages, when they go up, the business that is paying double wages or 50% more, they can't just pass those costs year one into their goods, into the consumer, right? So what they do is they take a percentage of it this year, and then next year they raise it a little bit more, next year they raise it a little bit more. So my long-term thesis is that while inflation will come back to 4 or 5%, it's going to be sticky for the longer term at 4 to 5% for probably about 5+ years. Yeah, I think with the dollar, you have to look at it as it is a pressure factor with crypto. Like if you had a dollar that wasn't up so significantly for this year, 2022, would crypto still be at 30,000? Now, I still think crypto was going to come down. There was a bubble in the crypto markets, in the NFT markets, all of these markets, but you have to think that the dollar has played some role in forcing it down. So the question is that if the dollar starts to pull back, do we start to make a near-term bottom in crypto? I still ultimately think we're headed a little bit lower, maybe 12,000-ish on the crypto Bitcoin market, but I do think we're due for a dollar pullback here, and that could be the relief rally that we get a crypto move, maybe in Bitcoin back to 25, maybe 28,000. But one of the things I've learned in all the cycles that I've traded, whether it's stocks or commodities or crypto, is that usually these calls are early, right? So you're still going to see one more good flush. They have to flush out the weak hands that are buying here. And again, just be ready for that. It doesn't, if you look at it in perspective, we were at 68, 69,000. We're now down to 20, or we were sub 20. This is obviously getting inexpensive, but just be aware that markets tend to push you more than you're aware in each direction. So it went higher than many people thought, and ultimately will go lower than many people think. Yeah, so I think the key is if inflation is high, I think that the hands are tied. The politicians' hands are tied. There's too many voters in that middle income kind of range that just aren't going to be able to stomach these high prices, right? They're being hurt too much. But I will say this, if you do see inflation come in, let's say it comes back to that 5% area, and all of a sudden we enter a recession because of the higher rates, because of all these other factors, and let's say unemployment rises to 7 or 8%, there's no doubt in my mind that the government, as well as the Fed, will start thinking about stimulus once again. So this is going to be a merry-go-round where you have, inflation, you whack-a-mole with inflation, right? And then it causes the unemployment to jump up and they smack that side. And then it's just a back and forth at this point with honestly no good outcome, but it probably takes years to really capitulate. Yeah, so first off, I'm loving the fact that we've recaptured, and this yellow line represents your 2017 high. So this is kind of what I was talking about. Here's your panic kind of sell, beautiful reversal, and then we crept up, and then we kind of came back under, and now we're back above. So at least in the short term, I am bullish. I do think Bitcoin has upside. Upside may be somewhat limited. My first level here that I'm looking at is around 25,500. That's that Terra Luna collapse low right there. So that's going to be some resistance. And then if we get through that, your next big test is around 28,500. So right now, these are the two levels I'm eyeing, which still, again, $5,000 up from here gives you a nice percentage return. But again, this would be a short-term move. I personally don't think Bitcoin has fully bottomed out yet. And again, keep in mind, I'm a swing trader, but also that macro view. So my swing trade side is bullish right now near term. My midterm, which is the next 3 to 6 months, I still think we have one more leg to flush out. My thinking is we're heading down to this area right down here, right around 12,000 to 13,000. And I'll just tell you this, is that my thought process about why we haven't bottomed is that you haven't seen all out basically people just throwing their hands up in the air, and you still have too many cryptocurrencies out, but we still have thousands of cryptocurrencies. And if you look at the .com bubble, which is very reminiscent to what we're seeing here, you had a period where so many of them went bust, and also other ones got bought out. I think recently FTX announced they were buying BlockFi for like 99% discount. That's what we want to see, but it's not over yet. So again, that probably means one more flush later on. What I would say though is this is important, is that don't necessarily think that it's a guaranteed flush, right? I would just say this, is that remember, in investing, your emotion works against you. So when you're most fearful, which is right at these lows, that's when you got to be looking to buy. And when you're most greedy over here, that's when you got to sell. Yeah. And it's so hard because, you have to fight your own self, right? You're fighting your emotion. Your emotion is saying, oh my goodness, this could go up to 1 million. And yet you have to be able to step back and say, wait a minute, what's going on here? Yeah, so I do think that that's exactly what's starting here. One of the things that is fascinating is that if you looked at, I don't know if you happen to catch this, Paul, but did you see the end of the month, the last day of June going into, so it was the last day of the month, the last day of the quarter, and Bitcoin was hovering below the 2017 highs. And in the last 30 minutes, there was a buyer that swooped in and
I'm looking right at it.
Right.
That right there.
Yeah, I mean, that was incredible. So and think about the significance. It wasn't just the daily close, it was the weekly close, the monthly, and the quarterly, and they did not want to let it close below that set 2017 high. And that to me is all I needed to see. I mean, that's telling us something here that we're probably going to have a little pop. Yeah, at least for a short-term bounce, I think Ethereum has even more percentage upside than Bitcoin. So if we take a look at the chart here, what we can see is that you've come up now. I like the fact that this low was a higher low. So you got a higher low. We can connect those to kind of create a little bit of a beginning trend wedge pattern. And then for me, this is what I'm watching here, is just stretch this line straight across. And you're kind of getting squeezed. The key is we need to see Ethereum take out this 1250, 1260 level. If it can do that, you actually have some decent percentage upside all the way up to about 1700, which is a percentage-wise, that is a huge move on Ethereum. The one thing I wouldn't want to see, this lower trend line break. And then if it actually took out this one, that would be the real one that you don't want to see.
That would be the problem.
Yeah. But right now, this is looking nice, but it still needs to take out 1250 or so. So I do trade a little bit of the altcoins, but my criteria for risk has me sticking with the top ones. So like a Polkadot, a Cardano, Solana, Avalanche. I try to stick in that top 20 because again, it's just, I don't feel comfortable. I don't have enough knowledge about what these coins that are lower down on the market cap side do. And knowledge is so important. Number one, liquidity is really important, and the bigger coins have that, and knowledge about what really they do. So for me, I try to protect my wealth, and so I stick with those top ones. I personally am not in XRP at this point, only because we're still waiting on that judge's decision, and I don't like hanging out my future investment on the whims of a judge, right? I mean, no one knows what the judge is going to do. We don't know what judges in general are going to rule. So for me, it's one of those things where I say, it's too risky for me. I'll wait to know the news, then I can make that determination.